It's Wednesday, time for Rock Solid Sports.
Pitch hit high in the air into left field, and that ball is gone. Jordan Beck has given Tennessee the lead. Christian Scott, a leap at the fence. He robs a home run.
Sponsored by Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Ben Joyce kicks and delivers. Strike three.
Rock Solid Sports, the only show with a home field advantage for UT Athletics. Here's tonight's host.
Welcome into Rock Solid Sports. It is Wednesday night. I'm Chloe here with Jacquez down at Fieldhouse Social, our Wednesday night sponsor. They're at 2525 University Commons Way. We thank them so much for their support. American craft food, beer, and cocktails, a 21-foot digital big screen TV indoors, and plenty more TVs throughout the restaurant and a back patio. Open at 11 a.m. Wednesdays through Sundays and open at 4 p.m. on Mondays. And we are here tonight on Wednesday night. As you can hear, trivia going on in the background. Always got a nice crowd out here for trivia on Wednesday night. Definitely a good environment to be. As I said, I'm here with Jacquez. Jacquez, how's it going for you this week and this Wednesday night? For sure. And back at the studio, we got Devin and Dominic. How are you guys doing on this Wednesday night?
Doing absolutely wonderful. Great football over the weekend. Looking forward to the next weekend. It happens to be the third Saturday in October. How about you, Devin? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling fantastic. We got a lot of big stuff coming up this weekend. Lots of huge balls, sports stuff in general. Getting into the thick of a lot of different fall sports, and then some exciting stuff coming up later that we'll talk about for some spring sports as well. So I'm very excited about that.
Yep, and first of all, we will talk about obviously college football, but we have our One Knox Wednesday, our last one of the fall season. Actually, One Knox, their season has come to an end. So here is our final interview with head coach Mark McKeever that Dominic did earlier today, of the head coach of One Knox SC. Hope you enjoy.
I'm joined here today by head coach of One Knoxville SC for one last time this season, Mark McKeever. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. A little bit sad that we don't have a postseason, but it's the motivation as we go into next season, right?
Of course. And jumping right off into the deep end, what are the club's plans for the off season?
Yeah, so I think the first priority, from my point of view, Dom, is to get the team as stable as possible. Obviously, we have decisions to make and who's coming back and who's not coming back, and that'll be partly coaches, partly players. We want players that want to be happy here in Knoxville. So we'll sit down and get the stability with the returning base. With the returning base will come an off-season plan in terms of leveling up in regards to strength and conditioning. Obviously, the next part on that is recruitment and trying to bring in players that can potentially make us stronger or deeper in the terms of the squad. And then it's a stability with a master plan as we go into 24, which none of this stuff we were able to do last year. So it's exciting that we're talking about it.
Most definitely. And with that stability, how does a squad in the USL 1, how do they operate in the offseason? Do they tend to keep a lot of
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
To level up, so the teams that have done really well and been really successful, and it also depends on individual players' contracts and the longevity of those contracts as well. But I think more often than not, there's a big turnover. So I would expect through mostly every team that there's quite a significant turnover. I think for us there'll be there'll be way more stability than we had last year because we had 0 players, right? So, but there'll be a turnover in every team. There'll be a turnover in One Knox. There'll be a turnover with whoever the champions are at the end of the season. So I think it'll be repetitive from all through the league, that there will be pretty significant turnover in players.
That definitely makes sense. And looking at players that might turn over, I saw that Sean Lewis got the Golden Glove this season. What does that kind of recognition mean for him and the team?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I think anybody that can, be recognised at the elite level within the league. I mean, to have that award and honour is just it's tremendous. But I'll be honest with you, Dom, that it doesn't exceed my expectations. I fully expected that that's where Sean would be. So because we knew how talented he was coming in. It's now it's up to me and the staff and the club to try and keep Sean here, which we would love to do. There's more variables than Mark McKeever and Sean Lewis in this argument or conversation, I should say. So I do believe Sean loves Knoxville. I do believe Sean loves playing at One Knox. And at the end of the day, he's a married man. So it's not just Sean making decisions for Sean. It's Sean taking the whole scope of his life and what makes sense to him, his happiness, his family, etc., etc. So, quite a remarkable young man, tremendous goalkeeper. We would love to keep him, but if not, then my feelings would be that we were very blessed to have him.
Having been a goalkeeper myself in my playing days, I loved getting to watch him in net. Just very phenomenal player. And then before the season began, what were the expectations for you? And did you meet the expectations that you wanted to meet this season?
So it's a difficult question for me to answer because my expectations is always to be number one, and we're significantly far off that number one spot. So the second expectation was to get into playoffs, and we weren't far away. It doesn't make me feel good saying that because I feel as though we should have been in playoffs, Dom. So now the motivation is to get there. Now, as you start to piece the season apart and you look at all the good things that happened, the base that we're going to have returning is going to be phenomenal. The opportunity to have an off-season plan, the opportunity to have a recruitment plan, the opportunity to have a master plan going into 24, tremendously significant in our ability to level up. We should be at another level at the start of pre-season in 24. Should be, could be, would be, but we still need to make that happen, right? So if you look at some of the positives, I think as we look at stats, Sean has a tremendous stat as an individual, right? Jordan Skelton has a tremendous stat in terms of clearances and distribution. Angelo Kelly has a tremendous stat in interceptions and breaking opponents down. So we had a lot of those stats in terms of possession and out shooting our opponents and out possessing our opponents. Lots and lots of stats. So lots and lots of base that we've built. If you look at last season, who was able to evolve last season? You had Tormenta, who were last season's champions, and they're 4 points behind us, 4 points in front of us. And they're very, very similar in our goal differential. So there's not much. 4 points is nothing over the course of 96 points. So we're in touch and distance of last year's champions this year. We didn't have the ability to recruit as champions. We didn't have the ability to recruit with anything. The only product we could recruit for this year was Mark McKeever. They were coming to play for me because One Knoxville didn't really exist, right? So the next part there is, who was last year's finalists? Well, last year's finalists are Chattanooga, and we're significantly above Chattanooga. We've had a better season than Chattanooga. Another positive, you would look at who won the regular season or the Players' Shield last year. Well, the Players' Shield last year was Richmond, and I think we're 9 points ahead of Richmond. So all these teams had significant success to recruit from last year, and we had zero. We had no story to tell. The other team that we played against that had no story to tell was Lexington. And once again, we finished above Lexington. So all these teams that had stories to tell last year, we were above them without a story to tell. Now it's my job to say, okay, now we have a story, we have an identity, we have a base built, we understand what needs to happen moving forward. Now it's up to me to make that happen. And I feel really, really good about it. Some mistakes were made, coaches, players, club. I don't think there's anybody within one Knox that would say no mistakes happened. We all made our mistakes. Now it's our job to make sure it's just a mistake and not a behaviour pattern, right? So we're okay with mistakes so long as we're learning from them. Repetitive mistakes that are the same probably are not going to stand too well in our future. So again, it's our job as players, as coaches, as clubs to say, you know, we feel as though we did this right, and we take responsibility for maybe not doing this as good as we should have done it. And then we try to do it even better than we did. So I think in every aspect of soccer, we can be better. The coaching staff can be better. The players can be better. The club will now have a little bit of more experience and security. So I feel as though everybody is on the journey to work hard and make us better. It's definitely everyone's desire within the club to be the best that we can be. So I think it's just okay, we did well, but we don't want to do well. We want to be great. So being okay and doing well is part of the journey to being great. And that's the way that I sit now and talk to you. Like, we want to be great. We want to be better next year. And I'm sitting in front of you right now with everything on my desk here as I speak to you, trying to make us better for next year. There is no break. You know, it started. The process has started, and it had started a while ago.
Mm-hmm. And with that process towards becoming greater, you mentioned in last week's interview that the attack has been a sore spot for this club. What are the plans this offseason to help remedy that and get more goals next season?
Well, we certainly want to bring in goal-scoring players that have natural goal-scoring attributes. But I also want to mention, Dom, that we have players here that can score goals. We have Calixto and Castro that came in, but they came in late and they were trying to find their identity late. So really hard dynamic. Those guys will get us goals next year. I'm 100% confident, 100% confident. If we can add more goal scorers that maybe have a little bit more experience and maybe more established at this level or a higher level, then that'll help everybody around them evolve. You know, I think that as you look at the evolution of some of our younger first-year pros that are going to have an identity that is different from this year, now they can come in with a confidence and a vision, because last year they had no clarity. And those are players like Jez and Vanderploem, Danny Fernandez, James A. Thomas. You know, all these players were young, up-and-coming players. And now that they have established themselves along the first season, they will be a different level of player come next year. So, you know, another player in that mold is Callum Johnson. And Callum potentially was our most improved player this past year. You know, he found an identity towards the end of the season. So my hope is that all those guys are leveling up, and I have 100% confidence in each name that I've just mentioned there, that those guys will be better.
And you've always talked about how growth is so important to you in helping these young guys grow into better players. If you had to pick one moment as the most valuable experience to you from this season that perhaps helped you grow or helped the player grow, what would that moment be?
Goodness, I would say it's too hard with all the moments that we've had to pick just one moment. I would say that, I would say from a good standpoint, I feel like beating Lexington over the 3 games and winning the Shield was a massive moment. It's not a real cup, but it's a feel good for the fans, right? So I think that was a moment where it was like, okay, we want to give you, you know, some success, and we weren't able to give the fans the success in the big picture, but those little isolated moments of success, maybe that epitomizes what we want to be and who we want to be and where we want to go. From a bad moment, I think, there's been several there where we've lost goals in the last minutes of the games that were just heartbreaking. And again, those moments make us stronger. We took a USL Championship club to the very last kick of the ball. So that's something that, you can't just brush that off. That was quite an achievement for a team that had just been put together versus an established championship team. And we performed really well and almost took them to penalty kicks, but we lost a goal in the dying minutes. We lost a goal in the dying minutes to Omaha with 10 men. Probably shouldn't have happened. We lost goals to Richmond in the last 5 minutes twice. We lost goals to Chattanooga in the dying minutes and ended up losing there. So you accumulate all those points in the dying minutes that we lost, and maybe it's a different scenario going into the playoffs. Maybe we're there. So I think those learning moments to be more resilient and play out the 90 minutes and not leave the game early, I think it's massive education moments for us all, for me as a coach, for my staff, for the players, and we understand it. We know that it's there, and now it's our job to make sure that those mistakes that we did make this year don't continue into next year.
One thing that I can always appreciate about your answers is the level of accountability. How do you help your team take accountability for themselves and lead from the front in that sense?
Well, I think at the end of the day that the results, they lie on my shoulders, Dom. Why did they lie on my shoulders? Because I'm not out there scoring the goals. Like, the referees are not scoring the goals and conceding the goals. But ultimately, every player that has walked through this door is my decision. So I have to take accountability for the players. Now, which players take accountability for themselves? I can't make players make themselves accountable. You paint a picture, and then, it's up to the players to say, I feel as though I am accountable and take that responsibility. Unfortunately, in today's era, there's a harder sense of holding yourself accountable, right? So the hope is, as a coach, that you send the message, you paint the picture, and the largest part of your group holds themselves responsible. And I feel as though, for the most part, a big percentage of this group do understand that they are a part of the good and bad that's happened, and not just the good, right? So I think, again, one of our values within the club is humility. And that's a sense of humility. When things are going wrong, are you going to point the finger, or are you going to take responsibility as opposed to passing responsibility? Big education moment in a locker room for us this year. And again, it's going to help us evolve and to continue to grow and get stronger as we grow. Again, keeping the good and trying to eliminate the bad as much as possible.
I saw on the club's Instagram too that on Sunday there's going to be pints with the players to celebrate the end of the season. Will you be there for that?
I don't know that yet, Dom. That'll be a last minute call. I have my little boy with me this weekend. He's in playing some soccer with one of the younger One Knox teams. So, but he'll be leaving on the Sunday. So it just depends on what time he leaves and what time I have to get him where he needs to go. So a potential appearance in my part, but it'll be a last minute decision.
All right. Well, that's all from me. We thank you so much at the station. You've really helped me personally grow as an interviewer, and just the experience has been so great for me. I love getting to interview you every week, and very much looking forward to next season. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you as well, Dom. Thanks for your time and all the coverage. And anything I can do to help you along the way, let me know.
Thank you very much.
All right, brother. Cheers, Dom.
All right, that was our final, at least for this part of the season, interview with One Knox SC head coach Mark McKeever. That has really been a great opportunity. I was in on it, during the summer, and Dominic has done a really great job throughout, the entire season with those. What a great interview! It was really interesting to see kind of everything, how much there is to be said and how much goes on in the off season for these professional soccer teams.
Yeah, it was really wonderful to get to interview him as per usual. I've really loved being able to do it. It's been such a privilege. He's always got such great insights, not only on soccer, but just people management. I mean, it's very applicable to daily life. Even if you're not a soccer fan, you can listen to a McKeever interview and still gain something useful from it.
Yeah, and I now know how a Scottish person would pronounce Chattanooga, which is fantastic. I love the way he's pronouncing that. And yeah, it's great that he was able to beat the rival teams, Lexington, Chattanooga. I consider those major victories there. And the fan support for the team has been fantastic. So I really hope that they put up a really great foundation.
Absolutely. It's been an awesome, just definitely an awesome environment for sure in this team's first season. And yeah, we thank head coach McKeever so much for coming on with us every week for this past season. Really quick, Lady Vols soccer, switching over to college soccer. They haven't won a game since September 21st versus Florida. They've had some ties here and there and 2 losses since then. However, they go on the road to play Missouri tomorrow night. Hopefully, they can snap their winless streak. They play here in Knoxville against Texas A&M. Oh, wait, sorry. That is another game. I was reading off this. I'm sorry, guys. They go on the road tomorrow to Missouri, so hopefully they'll be able to play that. And then afterwards, they're going to be playing Texas A&M on Saturday here in Knoxville at Regal Soccer Stadium at 2. So as overall, this Lady Vols team, like I just kind of talked about their ties recently and their losses, do we think that they can try and finish out this SEC play strong? Because this is not at all a bad team by any means, but it's just one that has gotten caught in SEC play, a very good SEC conference right now.
It's a tough one to look at, and I got the pleasure of covering the last game for them. They're a very strong team, but just they let go that one there at the end, and it was unfortunate to watch. But it's a very tough SEC this year, and they're on the outside looking in right now with the SEC tournament, and they might not even get the chance to go. They have to pick up quite a few points here in their last couple games, which I don't know if it'll happen, to be honest. They might not make the tournament, which is kind of a big turnaround from where they were at. Obviously, they're really missing Jada Thomas right now. She's out for the season. She's been one of the historic goal scorers for this program, and yeah, it's tough for them right now.
Yeah, and also, I mean, all these games have been so close, unfortunately, just haven't gone their way. Against South Carolina, it was a 1-1 tie. Mississippi State, 3-3 draw. Kentucky, 1-1 draw. LSU, 1-0 loss. Georgia, 2-1 loss. Close games. Just haven't been able to go the Lady Vols way. Hopefully that changes tomorrow night. And then after that, there's only just, these are the last 3 games of the season on the road against Missouri. Then back at home against Texas A&M, the home finale that's on Sunday, 2:00, and then on the road against Vanderbilt is the season finale.
And Vanderbilt always has a really good women's soccer team, so no matter what their record is, it's going to be tough to beat. Sorry, I meant to say Sunday. I did not mean Saturday. I'll be there at that game on Sunday, and we'll see if they can bring home the win at home. One more thing for this segment: volleyball. Tennessee volleyball, a really good Lady Vols volleyball team this year. They suffered their first SEC loss of the season against Kentucky, and they lost these sets all 3 of them 3-0. So the Lady Vols, I think this was their second loss of the entire season so far. So this was obviously very disappointing for them. I was very surprised to see this, but once again, it's another thing, they're getting into SEC play, but they will take on Arkansas this Friday night. We'll see where that takes them. And while it was a 3-0 loss, all those sets were pretty close. It was, they had to go into the 2-point rule where you have to win by 2 points to secure the win for that set. So they were all pretty close. And, while the Lady Vols did have the struggle in the fact that they weren't able to win, we'll see how they do. They're still currently ranked and have a 16-2 record in the rank number 12. But Arkansas is number 10. So this will be definitely another challenge for Lady Vols volleyball, guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, I mean, if there's this could be the SEC volleyball game of the year. It could be Friday night right here at TBA Food City Center, quote unquote. It'll be right here Friday night, 6:30. You don't want to miss this game because this is your two top tier teams. Arkansas's number 10, Tennessee's number 12, and the Lady Vols trying to bounce back from a shocking 3-0 loss. Other than that, they've been dominating every single SEC team they've played. They've been beating lots of teams 3-0 and 3-1 all season long. So hopefully they can bounce back with a huge win.
The loss is certainly shocking to say the least. Nonetheless, this team is so good that I don't think a loss is really going to hinder them or their mindset. And good teams eventually do lose. Volleyball, you play a lot of games, and so it's hard to stay on top for that long, but that streak was unbelievable. Probably one of the best in school history. I don't have the stats on me, but pretty safe to assume one of the best win streaks in Tennessee volleyball history.
Yeah, when I was watching this game, I was pretty shocked, like all of us. I didn't necessarily think that it was going to come loose because they had swept Kentucky back in Kentucky when they played them early in the season. But the thing that stood out to me was in the first match, Kentucky came in with confidence. Kentucky came in ready to roll. Kentucky was on a revenge type of game, and they came in ready to play. And in the first match, Tennessee didn't look as confident as they usually do when they played all these other games, and it was very interesting to see why Tennessee wasn't confident. So I think they got a little high off wins, and I think them coming back together and rallying back together these next couple of games will set them up going into the end of the season for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the SEC is different. Tennessee's played really good teams, and their only other loss was it to Nebraska? I think
it was to Wisconsin.
Okay.
Wisconsin's still like a top 5 team. So
yeah. I knew it was one of those teams out there. Obviously, Nebraska's really good volleyball currently. They had that big game in the football stadium. But, I agree. Tennessee just came out looking not like themselves, so we'll see how they do on Friday. With that, we're going to have to go on to our college sports segment. We might talk a little bit about basketball pre-rankings as well, because those came out this week. Stay tuned. You're listening to Volunteer Radio 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
I'm WUTK alum John Wilkerson from the Vol Network and Sports Talk on the Sports Animal, and you're tuned to Volunteer Radio 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock, the original home for the Sports Update. Go Vols!
The Rock thanks Fieldhouse Social, the Wednesday home for Rock Solid Sports, for their support. American craft food, beer, and cocktails, plus a 25-foot big screen at University Commons Way. Fieldhouse Social welcomes sports fans and others alike to enjoy dishes like the citrus marinated chicken, grilled Faroe Island salmon, and smoked ribs. FieldhouseSocial.com or on Twitter and Facebook.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears!
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. Info for the UT Volunteers' next home football game Saturday, November 4th versus Connecticut with a kickoff time to be determined is at allvols.com. Student ticket request period is October 25th and 26th at bigorangetics.utk.edu. Tune into WUTK's Rock Solid Sports for football coverage all season long. 90.3 The Rock says, go Vols.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. The 2023 football Vols will play home games at Neyland Stadium against SEC rivals South Carolina, Georgia, Texas A&M, and others. Allvols.com for info, with a link at WUTKradio.com. UT student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. 90.3 The Rock says, go Vols!
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 9th season on the Summit includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. AllVols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says, go Vols basketball.
What up, everybody? This is Fitz.
And this is Noelle.
From Fitz and the Tantrums, and you're listening to 90.3 The Rock, streaming 24/7 at WUTKRadio.com.
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 p.m. for The Alternative, sponsored by Bliss and Corey Mason Shoes on Gate Street and at Westtown Mall. And Bliss Home at the Gallery Shopping Center, also sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill Bar and Live Music Venue in the heart of Knoxville's Old City. The Alternative features 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station who first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt-country days, like the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo, Steve Earle, and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the V-Roys, Whiskey Town, Lucinda Williams, Sunvold, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Molly Tuttle, Tyler Childers, Casey Musgrave, Sturgill Simpson, Billy Strings, and the Punch Brothers. You'll also get classic Americana like Johnny Cash, The Band, and Emmylou Harris, and there's always Patsy Cline at 9. Tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss Home, and Corey Mason Shoes, and only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program for their support. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2023-2024 home schedule includes games against Notre Dame, Ohio State, SEC foes, and more. AllVols.com. Student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. The Rock says, go Lady Vols.
Welcome back to Rock Solid Sports. It is Wednesday night. It's Chloe and Jacquez live here at Fieldhouse Social. Our Wednesday night sponsor, 2525 University Commons Way. They got trivia going on. They got a lot of things on the TV, some sports shows, and, of course, lots of great food and drinks as well. Again, they're at 2525 University Commons Way. And with that being said, let's get into some Tennessee football really quick. Tennessee goes up in the AP poll to number 17 after beating Texas A&M, but not by as much as many Vol fans expected. A lot of criticisms coming out of this game, and I think this was definitely a little bit closer game than most imagined. It was definitely a great environment, checkered out in Neyland, kept it loud the whole game for sure, although I'm sure some Vols fans would have rather had been up by more and got to leave that game early, but it was still it was a great game for sure. We've seen Texas A&M come close with other teams like Alabama, who Tennessee is taking on next week. Guys, let's just jump right into it. Criticisms of Tennessee during this game specifically.
It's not something I actually want to focus on too much, the criticisms, because I think fans are being far too critical in this win. It's not a loss, it's a win. And what I would ask fans who are being extremely critical right now is, when is the last time Tennessee has won a game like this? Defensively, and not only defensively, but just a close game that was a defensive battle throughout. It's been such a long time since Tennessee's won a game like that. I feel like it should be a major relief to fans that our identity is not completely tied up in Josh Heupel's offense. Yes, it was wonderful last season. Yes, we want to see it again. But this defense is incredible. The criticisms, however, that people are going to focus on is Joe Milton. However, I think the criticisms are better spent on the penalty issues, because the penalties were absolutely ridiculous this weekend. We had far too many, and our offense consistently was able to gain short yardage, around 5 yards of play at least. But we kept moving ourselves too far back from the sticks to get the first down, or when we were in the red zone and we kept pushing ourselves back. We had a lot of chances to score, and there was a lot of drop passes, but penalties are the main thing I'm worried about, especially looking back to Florida, road environment. lots of penalties. I don't want to see that at Bama.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that was really the only main criticism I had from this game was just the penalties because, you brought up Florida as well, but even in the Austin P game as well, there was a lot of penalties, and that's why Tennessee didn't dominate Austin P as much as they should have. But there was so many positives, way more positives in this game than negatives, in my opinion. You already brought it up already, Dom, the fact that they're able to win on defense. But it was defense, it was the run game, and it was special teams, D. Williams, touchdown, of course, as well. But the fact that Tennessee, this is what I've been saying this whole time about this offense, they need to run the ball more because we have 3 amazing running backs. The offensive line is doing an amazing job run blocking, and they just ran the ball. They got around 200 yards total among all the players, around 200 yards total against Texas A&M, which is a massive accomplishment because Texas A&M's defensive line and front 7 is one of the best at stopping the run in the entire country, period. That is Texas A&M's biggest strength, and we just literally ran all over it. So that's further proof Tennessee needs to go into Alabama with that same exact mentality, power football, run that ball.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I really don't want to just jump on all the critics like everyone does. I want to highlight the good because in reality, Tennessee ran for 232, and in the past 3 games, nobody on Texas A&M has rushed over them for over 60 yards. So for them as a team to run for 232, that's good. Another thing I want to say is Joe Heupel has not won a game under 30 points since he's been at Tennessee. So for him to win a 20-point, it was a 3-point game and still be able to win, and the defense come out on top and the offense still play good, I think that's also a good thing. And the thing that I really liked about the game was the defensive line for Tennessee was on point. When I say I love the way they was running stunts, I love the way how the line crashing down, the defensive lineman was wrapping around. I love the way how everything was actually playing out. Did they play good on offense? As a team, no, but did they still get the job done? Yes. And I think in the SEC, it's not always about how great you can perform. It's about how can you get the win when adversity comes in and strikes. And they found a way last weekend to get the win for sure.
Absolutely. Texas A&M, this was a game that a lot of people who are not super familiar with Tennessee or maybe new students here and things like that, they're thinking, why Texas A&M? Why is this such a big game for us? But Texas A&M, Tennessee has lost to both times in the past 5 years. So Texas A&M, ranked or not, is, I think, that a team that always should be on Tennessee's radar, always should be circled for sure. And then of course we could talk about Joe Milton all day, but there's some moments, they're just moments that I feel like are unfair. For example, say Ramel Keaton had caught those 2 really long passes for touchdowns, the story would be so much different. Like the story, just those 2 passes, the story would be different about Joe Milton and how we feel about him. So while I really like the way you guys took that, though. Let's not focus on Joe Milton or how many passing yards he had or anything like that. There were also things being done, and in the end, Tennessee defense especially came out and found a way to win. And that is making me I am honestly feeling pretty good going into this Bama weekend here because while it is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, very close game with Texas A&M 2 weeks ago. Let's not forget. And Alabama, very close games against unranked or underranked opponents in the past few weeks as well. I don't know, guys. Really quick, we got to talk about this Bama game super quick. How are we feeling? What does Tennessee need to do in order to stop Bama or in order to come out on top?
I think we have a really good shot in this one. There's people that don't really think so just because they're being kind of typical Vols fans and they're being a little bit too timid about their team. But I really think that Tennessee has a great shot to win this game. The way that our defensive line has been playing, the way that our offense has opened up the run game, I think we have a real shot at winning this one because when Bama played Texas A&M, they made it so that Milroe had to pass. But our pass defense is actually starting to look pretty solid now too. Kamal Haddon, we were wrong about him. He's a great cornerback. I'm so sorry to Kamal and just all the hate that he's gotten from our fans, but he's been phenomenal for us. And we just have such a good shot here because the way a run game can demoralize the other crowd and take them out of it is huge. So I think we have a great shot at winning this one.
Yeah, I think the chances are really, really good. After all, I mean, hey, Tennessee just beat them last year. They've got a streak. They've got a winning streak against Alabama. They got to keep alive. But of course, people are picking Alabama to win because of all the consistent success Nick Saban has had against Tennessee. But this era is different, much more evenly matched, and this is going to be, in my opinion, a very tight defensive battle again. You brought it up earlier, Chloe. Alabama struggled against Texas A&M, and they were in a bit of a struggle against Arkansas at home last week. And Arkansas, they're a good team, but they're not having that great of a season. So for Alabama, and they're a team that Alabama consistently beats. I think when they beat them, that's their 17th win in a row against Arkansas or something around that. So that's not a game that you'd expect Alabama at home with a much better team to be closely competitive, and yet it was. And so we're looking at an Alabama team that, they're undefeated in the SEC, though. But Tennessee, and I know this is like wishful thinking, but Tennessee really does have a realistic shot at getting to the college football playoff still. Only one loss on the season. Georgia just lost their best player on the team for probably up until at least the Tennessee game. So that helps Tennessee's chances in upsetting Georgia down the road. I feel like Tennessee's got a really, really good shot, but it's going to come down to defense once again, and it's going to come down to special teams once again.
Jacquez, I feel like you're the most unbiased here. You're a newer Vol. You played football in the SEC. What do you genuinely think Tennessee's and Alabama's chances are in this matchup this weekend?
Well, first, I think last year's win has to go out the window right now, right? This whole week has to be preparation of we're coming in. This is a new week. We just beat Texas A&M. Okay, we may be a little high off a win, but we have to lock in and stay focused because Alabama is trying to come back and get revenge. And I truly believe that Tennessee can actually go down and Alabama Stadium and win. I would love to see the defense play like how they played against Texas A&M. I think if the defense come in and play like how they played against Texas A&M and Joe will kind of get in together and make good play calls, I think Tennessee comes out on top. I think if Tennessee has to keep the running game going, they cannot allow Alabama to shut down the running because that has been a big part of Tennessee's offense in this season. So I would like to see defense play their butts off and the running backs get going, and I think Tennessee comes out on top. Joe Moorhead does not have to play a great game. He just has to play a complete game and not make subtle mistakes.
Absolutely. I mean, just as long as we have ourselves a ball game, and I know we will, because honestly, I can fully confidently say that the years of me as a kid watching Alabama just beat the crap out of us and be like, oh, well, those fun while lasted are over, right? I can confidently say that. So it's going to be really exciting. I'll be down there. And I think, like you said, Tennessee, all hands on deck. Everybody's focused. Everybody knows what's happening. No confusion down there in the offense. Tennessee, I can very much see it happening. Really quick before NFL, I just want to say, if I had to pick one game for this weekend just to run over, we don't have time for all three. Number 7, Penn State at number 3, Ohio State. Just going to talk about that really quick. Let's just go around. Who are you picking for this and why? Me? I think I'm going to have to go with Penn State. I think that Penn State definitely has a chance to quote unquote upset Ohio State. Not that it would be that much of an upset to me. I think that Penn State has had a great season, and I don't think that Ohio State has that much of an advantage over them this year.
Yeah, give me the Nittany Lions. I think that Penn State is a much better squad right now, more well-rounded for sure than Ohio State. Ohio State looked a little bit rough in that Maryland game not too long ago. Maryland just got beat by Illinois. They're not the greatest team, and the Big Ten just does not have a lot of competition in it, so it is a bit hard to pick out who's actually going to win these games when the top of the conference goes up against each other. But I just genuinely think Penn State's got a much stronger team right now. I think that Ohio State under Ryan Day, they have been a great team, but when it comes to tough competition, they don't usually seem to come out on top most of the time. They haven't won well in the playoffs. They haven't won well I mean, they lost against Michigan, which Ohio State hadn't done that in a while, and now Michigan's starting to get that momentum. I got to go with Penn State here.
Yeah, this is going to be an iconic matchup right here. I mean, this is a great Big Ten rivalry. Two incredible head coaches in James Franklin and Ryan Day. Two super talented teams, great defenses, young quarterbacks, which is a big key in this one, and then some talented running back rooms. But I'm going to lean slightly more towards Penn State as well. I'm going to go with you guys. I was originally going to pick Ohio State. I think you guys have convinced me, though. I'm leaning towards Penn State, but this one's truly a toss-up for me. I just trust James Franklin just a little bit more, and I also think that Nittany Lions defense, which still has some serious playmakers there on the defense, is going to come up with some turnovers late in the game. That's going to end up being the difference in this one.
The only holdup is it's in Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Don, I was actually getting ready to say that. I said, I know I better get y'all week in, week out when I come down on the show. But listen, I'm rolling with Ohio State because every time Penn State gets lower in the rankings, they can never hold their ranking. And I'm holding Ohio State because they're playing down in the Buckeyes, and I think the crowd will win the game, definitely.
Yeah, definitely going to be the game of the week. Could see it going either way for sure. Hoping for a close one. Should be exciting. 12 p.m. So should be around the time that should be ending around the time the Vols game is starting. So we'll see. Should be close. We are going to take a short break here. We're talking about some Monday Night Football and preview some Thursday Night Football. Stay tuned. You're listening to Volunteer Radio 90.3 The Rock. This is Rock Solid Sports.
Volunteer Radio is supported by Fieldhouse Social, University Commons. Hosts a Wednesday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft food, beer, and cocktails. Featuring UTN Pro Sports on digital TVs around the restaurant 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. FieldhouseSocial.com and their Facebook page for news and more.
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program for their support. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2023-2024 home schedule includes games against Notre Dame, Ohio State, SEC foes, and more. AllVols.com. Student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. The Rock says, "Go Lady Vols."
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols soccer program for their support. The 2023 Lady Vols soccer team will face off for the final regular season match on the pitch against SEC rivals, the Texas A&M Lady Aggies, this Sunday, October 22nd at 2 p.m. at the Regal Soccer Complex off of Neyland Drive. The public is invited to attend and cheer on the Lady Vols. Stay tuned to Rock Solid Sports for more UT Lady Vols soccer info, utsports.com, and a link is at wutkradio.com. The Rock says, good luck, Lady Vols soccer.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 9th season on the Summit includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. AllVols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says, go Vols basketball.
The Rock thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the campus headquarters for food, brews, pool, shot starts, sports, and more fun. Tuesday night is team trivia night, and Thursday nights are for bingo. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page for more info.
Hey, we're the Aces, and you're listening to 90.3 The Rock, Utah's College of Rock. Utah? UT's? Thought I was doing so good. Okay, UT's College of Rock.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. The 2023 football Vols will play home games at Neyland Stadium against SEC rivals South Carolina, Georgia, Texas A&M, and others. Allballs.com for info, with a link at WUTKradio.com. UT student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. 90.3 The Rock says, go Vols!
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 p.m. for The Alternative, sponsored by Bliss and Corey Mason Shoes on Gate Street and at West Town Mall. And Bliss Home at the Gallery Shopping Center, also sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill Bar and Live Music Venue in the heart of Knoxville's Old City. The Alternative features 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station who first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt-country days, like the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo, Steve Earle, and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the V-Roys, Whiskey Town, Lucinda Williams, Sunvold, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Molly Tuttle, Tyler Childers, Casey Musgrave, Sturgill Simpson, Billy Strings, and the Punch Brothers. You'll also get classic Americana like Johnny Cash, the band, and Emmylou Harris, and there's always Patsy Cline at 9. Tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss Home, and Corey Mason Shoes, and only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Welcome back into Rock Solid Sports on Wednesday night. I'm Chloe here with Jacquez. We got Devin and Dom back at the WGK studios, and myself and Jacquez are live from Fieldhouse Social, 2525 University Commons Way. Great place to be. Trivia going on this Wednesday night. And, of course, we are sitting under their giant TV that shows all the sports you could possibly want. And we are going to get into some NFL here for our final segment. First of all, let's recap Monday Night Football. The Cowboys at the Chargers came as a surprise to most of us, I think. A very close one, 20-17. The Cowboys were able to get that win. And people always make the joke, Cowboys downfall starting early. I mean, they still kind of look pretty decent. What was it last week as well? But I don't know. They just have some off moments here. What do we think of this one, and what do we predict for the future of the Cowboys? Are they gonna shoot themselves in the foot once again going into this later part of the season?
I mean, it is the Dallas Cowboys. Skip Bayless's team. I don't know if you've seen his Twitter videos, but he's got some pretty diabolical stances he does when he talks about the Cowboys. Yeah. But this one was fun for sure. And the story of the game, funnily enough, ends up being about a Chargers fan who people really did not seem to care for or love. Very strong reaction to this fan from a lot of people, but interesting game for sure. I didn't expect the Chargers to really hang in that tight with Dallas, especially considering just how strong Dallas looked early on the season, but now tapering off. I think they'll be solid going into the middle of the season here, but I mean, it's the Cowboys. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs.
That Cowboys defense is absolutely legit. Unfortunately, of course, just like every team in the NFL, devastating injuries have happened to that defense, of course, as what's happened all over the league. Just crazy. Sometimes you forget just how tough this sport is. But, Trayvon Diggs went down for the Cowboys as well. But they're still playing at a high level on defense, even without that. Now, they do still have Dak Prescott at quarterback, and we kind of know how that's going to go in the playoffs. However, I expect Dallas to make it there. I think they've got a good team. I trust Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator. Not a whole lot of trust with Mike McCarthy as a head coach or Dak Prescott as a quarterback to go all the way, but enough to get into the playoffs and get past the first round, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not a big Cowboys fan at all, especially because it's America's team, But I am kind of excited that the Cowboys did get an opportunity to win this game ever since last week, because last week Dak Prescott got trolled really bad. And it's kind of crazy how the Eagles can lose and Dallas lose, but the way Dallas lose and the Eagles lose is a different type of loss and it's a different type of trolling. So I'm kind of glad to see that the Cowboys got a win on top of this, and I'm eager to see what they do ahead next Sunday.
For sure, we'll see where that story goes for the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Jacksonville is in New Orleans to take on the Saints. Saints are 3-3 on the season, and Jacksonville is 4-2 with Trevor Lawrence. I'm honestly thinking that the Saints can take this one. I mean, while they're really talented, they've had some really bad loss, of course. in to Green Bay, just to name a few. I think they only scored 9 points in one game, but I think that the Saints is a team that I don't know why. I've just always kind of liked them. They got my man Kamara back. I don't know who are we picking for this one, the Jaguars or the Saints?
I mean, me personally, I'm definitely feeling Trevor Lawrence over whoever ends up starting for the Saints.
Yeah.
Again, the past couple games, which has not boded too well for them. But Jacksonville, I think, is actually a pretty solid team now. Trevor Lawrence has developed into a good NFL quarterback, which people were anticipating him to be. So I'm glad to see him stepping up into his role. But I just got to go with Jacksonville in this one.
I think this is going to be a really, really close game, super competitive. At the end of the day, though, I just think Jacksonville, because they have the more experienced head coach in Doug Peterson, I think ultimately they'll make enough smart play calls where they'll end up winning this game in a close one.
I like Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback. He's finding a way to win week in and week out, and I think he'll get the job done this Sunday for sure.
No, for sure. Those quarterbacks that you remember watching super recently in college always make it so fun to watch NFL. For me personally, a college person. But yeah, that's our NFL there for you. To the Titans, they have a bye week this week. A little bit of a break for them after getting beat by the Ravens in London, right? This past Sunday morning. We'll be back on Friday night, another crew, but they will be here, Jack and Griffin and others, to walk you through the preview of the Alabama game, I'm sure, and other sports as well. Stay tuned. The Alternative is up next. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Fieldhouse Social for sponsoring us. You're listening to 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.